Hello, hello. This is our final call in this sleep series. Calls 1 through 3 are up on our YouTube, and if you need those links, ask me. If you're finding this on YouTube, obviously you have access to it. Our call on Monday night, I had to re-record it so you can see that it is daytime and not evening. So there's more monologuing, but that's okay because that's just how it works out. So the first few calls, we went over what good sleep is, what that structure looks like, how to support healthy wake and sleep cycles, what foods and supplements can be helpful for improving your sleep, mindset, stuff like that. And today, the final call, we're going to be talking about peptides, how they can actually help your sleep, and then which ones I understand the most and can help you if you're looking at getting those peptides. I can help you get them. And I want to start off with saying peptides are amazing. If you don't know what they are chains of protein. So very cool. Chains of amino acids, which is protein structures. They are, in the simplest form, amino acid chains. And you think of brand names, and sometimes, most of the time, the brand name and the generic or just the actual individual structure sold and based on however you're finding it, GLP, GIP. We're going to talk about other peptides. It's the exact same chemical formula. You're just going for a brand name or the actual structure so you can get it at a cheaper price. But what I wanted to talk about with peptides is they are natural. They've gotten morphed when going into mainstream, because if you'll look back into the history of it, for the most part, the healthy crowd that's trying to avoid medications and problematic things have been using peptides. And now that it's become mainstream, there's all of this fear mongering that is added to it. I understand that when something is new to you, it can be scary. And if you see really good marketing tactics online, that's also really hard to sort through what the truth is. I felt the same way. And when I started this process of seeing if it would be a good fit for me, I dove deep into the actual research, not what I'm finding on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook groups or whatever. I went into the actual literature of it, and I've been really impressed. So I'm using a few peptides, but I wanted to have that kind of basis to start it off with. And then we're going to move into helpful ones. So we talked about our sleep, circadian rhythm, stress modulation, nervous system support. We've talked about foods and supplements. Went through this again. If you want all of the detail in those, you can go back to the previous calls. If you just want to talk, I'm happy to talk with you about it and find a good fit for you, where to start. So I always start with those, and I want to emphasize lifestyle and behavior things first, because they truly are the most powerful tool we can use. You can add a tool of a peptide or add a tool of a supplement, and sometimes we still actually do need them. A lot of people will say that peptides are optional. They are prescribed by doctors, if you're going through a reputable source there. And then for supplements, getting a high quality supplement and using them, for the most part, most supplements are kind of a short-term thing. A lot of people will jump to a supplement before they do any lifestyle stuff, not realizing that the biggest power and the biggest potential for change is often with our behaviors. So I like to start with that and then say, hey, you've done these things, you still need some help. Let's look in some products that can help you out. And this is peptides. So the first one that I want to talk about is the GLP and GIP peptides. Tirzepatide, semaglutide, Wegovy, those are all the brand names that you hear, but what it is very base is a GLP-1 agonist and a GIP agonist. And what they do is they improve insulin sensitivity, it lowers inflammation, it stabilizes blood sugar regulation, stabilizes blood sugar. And the whole point of my talk with GLPs and GIPs is that's an indirectly improving your sleep. So if you are someone who, and even it's also now being prescribed to treat people with sleep apnea. So there is a more direct mechanism that's happening. And sometimes it's just because you're losing that weight. And our beauty and our worth is not tied to being obese, but being obese does lead to other problems with our health. And oftentimes sleep issues and sleep apnea is another part of that. And so when talking about blood sugar stabilization, when I talked on the previous calls, when we are having insulin drops and spikes and drops, that dysregulation, those highs and lows, that triggers more cortisol, which also impacts your sleep pattern. So if you are waking up feeling anxious in the night, oftentimes it's blood sugar. And a lot of people will start with blood sugar. They think it's a mood problem, and it's because your body's not fueled properly. And then that classic 2 to 3 a.m. wake up, that's blood sugar related. Waking up tired, that can be blood sugar related. The afternoon crashes or crashes after meals, that's blood sugar related. So using that lifestyle is important, but using that peptide to improve that improves your sleep indirectly. But it's one of those things where you make one small change in this part of your life or your body, and it impacts everything else because our whole body's connected. So I really love that. So for that connection, that reduces the nighttime glucose spikes, which also increases the cortisol spikes, and then it gives you more stable REM cycles, and then decreases inflammation and cortisol. Again, that also contributes to higher quality of sleep. And then it can improve your energy and recovery indirectly through metabolic balance and regulation. A lot of people will say that your metabolism is broken and that's why you need help. And often you're not broken. Your body has adapted, and an adaptable body is a really healthy body. Sometimes when it's needing to adapt for too long in the wrong way, it gives you that unhealthiness when you can back out of that for the most part with a lot of conditions and issues. And it's lifestyle. So lifestyle gets you there, and lifestyle is going to get you out of it. But when it's gone too far, sometimes those peptides help you get out of it in a more effective way. So a lot of people will notice less hunger at night, better circadian rhythm stabilization, and the unfancy way to say that is they just sleep better, longer, and wake up less tired. And then, so if you, and I do want to talk about this because GLPs, GIPs, if they are not managed effectively or by someone who doesn't really care about the whole person lifestyle approach, and the dosage can be too high, and that person goes from eating too much, maybe the right amount, but also going too little because the dose is too high, their appetite is blunted too much, and then they're starting to have some issues. And so when I'm talking with a client or someone who's wanting to do a peptide, that GLP and GIP peptide, we want to be cautious to understand and learn what your hunger cues are. So your dose can be appropriate for your body, for your needs, and for your goals. And then for the long-term health, because that's our ultimate goal, is to preserve your long-term health. So lifespan and longevity match up because you don't want to live, maybe you do. I don't. Most people don't want to live into their 80s and 90s and be bedridden since their 60s, which happens to a lot of people. There's a massive difference on lifespan and health span, and we want to shorten that so you can live the fullest for the longest amount of time. And having a healthy metabolic system adapted in the right way, peptides as needed, and then learning your hunger cues, not going into a crazy deficit where you can't get your basic nutrients, those all preserve that for you. Those are my notes on that. So for the BPC 157, I really love LAMD. That's who I'm working with now. If you want to know more, I can talk with you about it. I do get a small commission percentage on what you buy. And I chose this company because they have the best sourcing. They also have doctors that are prescribing, actual doctors prescribing, reviewing. And then if you ever have a reorder or you want to have a reorder, you still have someone looking over that. So it's a good quality, it's a good product. They get you the product there in time. I have looked at different companies and they don't get products there on time. They kind of aren't as clear as they should be with the order system. They're problematic. So that's the reason I chose LAMD, because it was effective. It was a high quality, safe product, and was also prescribed by doctors. So on there, a product that they have is a BPC 157 and a TB 500, and it's combined, and it's good that those are combined because of how they're synergistic and beneficial to each other. I've got family on that one. I put my husband on it. He's got a lot of injuries, and the BPC 157 is a great way of a tissue repair. So when you're looking at like the holistic community, when they started using peptides, BPC 157 was one of the big ones because it is universally known as the healing peptide. And so A lot of people say it's the healing peptide. They call it the body protection compound. It depends on where you hear it, but that's what it is at its base structure, the BPC 157. And then it's derived from gastric juices, which is kind of interesting, and it accelerates tissue healing and gut repair. So there have been people that have said the oral version, like a pill of the BPC 157, works better on your gastric system from mouth all the way to excretion. And then the injectable can work. You inject it in areas where you're having the pain or the injury or tissue repair that you're needed. And so there was kind of the assumption for a while that that was the better method if you're looking at gut repair versus tissue repair. Now there's been more research because we like to dig into the research and the data. And there's been more research on the injectable BPC actually being more effective in the gastric system, even when it's injectable. So I like the injectable BPC 157 TB500 combo because it's one of the most effective methods. And then it also, most people's issues stem from their gut, even inflammation and pain management. And so that's a great way to start improving your gut health. And when I say, and I really want to be clear on this, if you have an injury in your shoulder, that's not stemming from your gut. I'm not stupid. But when you are having an injury in your shoulder and it's chronic and you are taking Tylenol, Motrin, acetaminophen, ibuprofen, let's go down to the base structure or the base name of it, not the brand name. When you're having that pain, and then you take that medication for years on end, you have now increased the systemic inflammation in your gut, which has made the pain worse and also caused more issues within your body. So pain management medications, they can be useful, but they are not supposed to be used long-term. And a lot of people aren't told that. They think it's over the counter, they think it's safe, and they're not told that it should not be used for even a moderate amount of time without working on the inflammation and repairing your gut. Because at the most basic level of what those medications are doing, they are causing more inflammation in your gut lining and your gut barrier. And so again, short term for a purpose, but you want to rebuild your body. You want to support your body. It's just like taking a antibiotic and then afterwards you want to rebuild that gut flora. So we're not saying it's the end of the world if you've taken it for a long period of time, but when you have chronic pain and you're taking something for your shoulder, and I'm saying the BPC injected in your gut can help mitigate some of those issues, inflammation increases pain. And so there is a little bit, specifically with women, can increase that pain. And so there is that relational component that I wanted to touch on. And so for the sleep connection, I get sidetracked on a lot of things. For the sleep connection, so it improves your gut permeability and your vagal tone. Your gut permeability is, a lot of people say leaky gut, and that is the crunchy, holistic term. And the more medical term is gut permeability. And what that is you have gap junctions. So in between the cells in your gut, they're supposed to be very, very, very tight together. There's supposed to be nothing that can get through. That's part of the design of your gut. And whenever you're having systemic inflammation, whether you have chronic food allergies, chronic issues, dysbiosis, SIBO, there's a lot of things that can contribute to it. That barrier is not as tight, and so there is some permeability. Stuff can get through. There are ways to do it. Improving, we can go into that later. There are ways to improve, and if you really want to talk about it, we can, but I don't want to get sidetracked. So what BPC 157 is doing is it is helping to improve that gut permeability so those tight junctions are closer together. And then your vagal tone is the vagal nerve, and that is associated with your rest and digest as opposed to your fight or flight. And with your vagal tone, you want to have that calmer, you want to be able to respond to that, and then your body funneling its energy and resources into that rest and digest improves your serotonin production, your melatonin production, all of those hormones that happen, and that start in our gut. And we can go into a crazy rabbit hole on everything the gut improves, but I don't want you to be on this call forever. We have plenty of time to come back to that. And so because it's improving those things, there's reduction of pain and inflammation and that nervous system hyperarousal or hyper alertness, and it helps your body by improving vagal tone, helps your body calm down. The best time to use that BPC 157 is after an injury, if you need some gut work or you have some high stress periods. And then we've talked about the oral and injectable routes. So the TB500, and I'm breaking them up separately, even though they're combined through LAMD, because I want you to know the individual benefits themselves. And so you're not confused on which ones we're talking about. So it increases the actin production and our blood vessel formation for tissue regeneration. There's a lot of really cool components of the TB500. It improves, um, there are studies that show that it helps people improve mental health issues, and it also helps improve your heart health. And so we're talking about sleep and then we're focusing one specific area, but these peptides are so powerful because they impact so many things. Um, so for the sleep connection, it supports your recovery and lowers that systemic inflammation. And then it gives you that deeper restorative sleep, which we know that we all need. But it also helps your body recover. And exercise causes inflammation. Again, not all inflammation is bad, but chronic systemic inflammation is the problem. Um, and so when we're looking at exercise and needing help with supporting recovery for building muscles, because it helps with that muscle tissue synthesis, which is building muscles. And so when you are wanting help with that and the recovery process, this peptide helps with that. I tried this and I started taking it in February, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was interesting though, because I was more sore the first few weeks taking it after workouts. And then I could start seeing the difference in my body and feeling the difference in the recovery process. So it's kind of that wondering, was I more sore because it was helping with that breakdown and build? And that's something that I was having issues with before. I don't know, but it was very interesting and I've loved taking it. And so the pairing that with a BPC 157, it creates a synergistic effect for tissue and nervous system repair, which also deeply impacts our sleep, which is, so that's why we're talking about it now. Um, and breaking it down to the most simplest way, more recovery, better HRV, better sleep cycles. So if you're a person who likes to track from like the Aura Ring, and I'm not wearing mine right now, if you're someone who likes to track from the Aura Ring, you're looking at your HRV, better HRV is going to show you that you've got some better sleep cycles too. And then the last one that I wanted to talk about is a combo, Samorelin and Ipamorelin. Those are the growth hormone improvers. And when using this, it stimulates your natural growth hormone release rather than replacing it. And so when we're looking at hormones, I know oftentimes people are nervous to uh, replace what we're missing because we don't want our bodies to adapt, because our bodies are very adaptable. We don't want our bodies to adapt and realize, oh, we don't need it anymore. So it stops, it's not wasting its time. It's being efficient in its processes. So I really like this Ipamorelin because it helps stimulate that release process as opposed to just replacing it. And then the benefits, you have enhanced recovery and fat metabolism and collagen production, and that's all with that healthy growth hormone release. It improves your slow wave, also your deep sleep, and this is where your growth hormone is naturally released. So improving your body's process to do what it's supposed to do is one of our favorite things to do in my business and also in life. Like we should help our body do what it's supposed to do as opposed to just giving up on it. And then it balances out your cortisol and growth hormone rhythm. And I like to talk about that because, again, cortisol is not the enemy. It is that dysregulation or chronic elevation. Same thing with inflammation. And so that's important for our perimenopause and our stress resilience. It's really critical. And I know all of the perimenopause ladies that are listening to this are like, why do I feel stressed? I shouldn't be stressed. It's because your body's ability to handle that stress response has changed with how your hormones shift, and having help with balancing that out and giving your body the tools that it needs to do what it's supposed to do. This is what it's doing. So Samorelin is longer acting, it's more subtle. Ipamorelin is shorter acting, it's gentler on cortisol. And then often this is used together at night for the optimal growth hormone rhythm. So if you want to support your deep and restorative sleep and cellular rejuvenation, sorry, words are hard today, this is a really good option for you. And so I've talked about the three different combinations that can impact your sleep from different areas. So it depends on what you think your body needs, what your history is, what you've tried versus haven't tried. I mean, there's some variation in there, and I'd love to talk with you about it. But I wanted you to have a better understanding what those peptides do for you, what would they do for your body, and then help you decide what works best for you. And so when I'm talking about sleep, it's really important to remember that our lifestyle is important. Taking a peptide and saying, screw everything else in my life, you're not going to get the best benefits from it, and you're going to feel a little bit better versus exponentially better. So if you are someone who is desperate to improve your sleep and you're like, I just want to feel better, I just want to sleep better, I'm tired of waking up groggy and miserable and having brain fog during the day, I'd encourage you to go back onto the previous videos, choose one of the improvement um, examples that I provided for you, and then let me know which one and let's talk about it. And then as you start feeling better, we'll add on other ones to help. And so you can, over the course of a month, you can drastically change how your sleep is. And you can use these peptides to enhance that process, make it go faster, and also get the best out of it. And so pairing them together is one of my favorite things for people to do, realizing how much power they have in their daily life and also using tools that are incredibly effective to increase that. And so we talked about that circadian rhythm, the light exposure, your nutrition, your stress management, all of those will contribute. And even choosing one single one and a peptide, you will have drastic results. So I want to encourage you to make that change. And then, like I said before, peptides amplify your recovery process, and um, the my mind blanked. Perfect opportunity for water. Try to make this call quickly. Um, So yeah, peptides will enhance or amplify our recovery process, and it creates that foundation of effective messaging within our body. So that's kind of my favorite thing to think about when I'm using a tool. If same thing, it's if you're looking at a supplement that could be very helpful that your body needs, like the inositol, if you're someone with PCOS. Um, you should still do lifestyle. You should still absolutely address what you're eating, how you're eating, the timing of your eating to impact your blood sugar regulation, your insulin sensitivity. But with someone dealing in perimenopause or someone dealing with PCOS, having those tools is really critical to making sure you're not just feeling a little bit better, but you're actually doing better, because there's more happening to your body than a little bit of a weird week or a little bit of a weird sleep pattern. So that's why I wanted to provide these tools for you so you can feel encouraged and knowledgeable to take that next step in your health and to improve your lifestyle and your whole life. Um, so I would love to hear from you. If you are curious about taking a peptide, which one you're curious about, if you wanted to talk about it, I really love LAMD, but I also really want to help you find the best option for you and your body. So still, I'd just love to talk with you about it. And then next week, I am doing a call with LAMD. I'm going to be a guest speaker on there, so I will provide that link into our community group. And then I'm going to be sending out questions into like just DMing everyone in our group, asking what you would like for me to cover next within our Monday night talks. I have a list of things that I really would like to talk with you about, but I want to tailor this to your needs, so I can go over what you're most interested in first, or I can go over just a topic that I haven't even considered that you would really love that information on. So I'm going to be sending that out. So please respond, because I would love to help you. And I think that's all for today. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help. Email, DM, reach out, and we will figure out what works best for you. All right, bye.